Another person that I spoke to, or who spoke to me, was a Jewish man who said that his grandparents were survivors, were Holocaust survivors, and he said that I shouldn't have a sign saying, Jordan Peterson Nazi, because everyone calls everyone a Nazi nowadays, and this has to stop. People have to stop using this term. And I told him, I said, this is a serious claim. I'm not just saying it randomly or something like this. Or I've never accused anyone in my life of being a Nazi before. This is the only person, and I have evidence. It's an evidence-based claim. I've written a book about it. I'm being completely serious. And he said, but if people see you with that sign, you need to change your sign. He said, if people see you with that sign, they'll think you're crazy. And I said, yes, I know. I know they will. And just think about that for a moment. What a sad commentary that if you try to out Nazis in contemporary society, people will think that people will just automatically assume that it's you who has the problem. You're the one who must be a bit mad, not the Nazis. They're only, as I sometimes say in this about this situation, there are two people here. There's Jordan Peterson, a Canadian neo-Nazi, and there's me trying to out him as a neo-Nazi. There are two variables, but that's one too many for most people to understand. So I'm trying to describe someone who's a lunatic, and what always happens is that I end up being branded the lunatic, and this is the risk that you take when you try to out a lunatic who, when it's so that people don't seem to understand that they're a lunatic. And so I told him, I said, yes, I know people will say that, and he said, you're going to lose. And I said, oh yes, I know I'm going to lose. You're not, you won't succeed. And he said, because as a Jewish person, I can tell you, he said, people don't care, and which is what I just said earlier. And I said, I know, I've noticed, people don't care. So another disturbing trend that I've discovered is that there are people who think that Jordan Peterson is a Nazi. So when they see my sign, they'll give me a thumbs up and say, you're not wrong. This seems to be a phrase here, you're not wrong, in Toronto speak. Or I agree with you or something. But then when I ask, would you like some information? No. So people seem to have some inkling, but they don't want to actually investigate. But people actually don't know how severe the problem is. The praise and defense for Hitler it's monumental. Not only that, but Peterson, as I've said before, he praises serial killers like Paul Bernardo, who's Canada's most infamous serial rapist and serial murderer, and he did so here at the University of Toronto. Now, if you're not concerned by that, or you don't think that that's a problem, then that's a problem. This is completely unacceptable. So I'm more than willing to, sirens going by here, fire truck. I'm more than willing to be labeled a lunatic and have angry young men say things like, that's so disrespectful to the Jews and whatever else, because I think that a lot of people are seriously confused. And even the ones who aren't, very few of them seem to really care. Another disturbing trend is that whenever I see people who are almost certainly professors, professors have a certain look and so on, their faces turn to stone. It's eyes down. They look away. They don't want to see the sign. They don't want to engage with me. And this is also extremely disturbing. If you're an academic who doesn't care that one of your fellow academics is a preacher of the Hitlerite faith, what does that say about you as an academic? Why are you an academic? But so it goes. Canada is a very small c conservative country in many ways, I think, and people don't want to speak up, people don't want to rock the boat, and if you push the envelope, people will push back, and that's just how it is. Okay, so I'm gonna carry on now and maybe try to speak to a few more people. Well, goodbye, University of Toronto. It's been fun. Interestingly, I spoke to one of the previous installments of videos that I made. I said that I hadn't spoken, or that professors, people who seemed to be professors, didn't even want to look at me. But it's funny because just after I recorded that, I spoke to a guy who he's a professor, and he told me that he's a communist, which to me is a bit shocking. I mean, if he means like a Marxist-Leninist, I can't imagine how anyone would have such views. But in any event, we had a talk, and he told me that he hated Peterson and so on. But he wasn't, like so many people, he wasn't aware of, when I asked him, are you aware that he's been praising and defending and identifying with Hitler for, decades? And he said no. So I gave him the document that I have, and he looked at it, and he glanced at a couple of examples, and he was really shocked. Oh, this is great, thanks, I'll look at this, gosh, unbelievable. And but again, it just kind of goes to show that it's easy to miss. Like even people who know something about Peterson, they don't understand the extent of it. And people will say they know, but if you probe them a bit, if I probe them a bit and ask them things like, are you aware that he praises serial killers, for example, Karl Panzram, or the Columbine shooters, and or Alec Manassian, or an infamous Canadian serial rapist called Paul Bernardo, who I've mentioned already. They don't have any idea. They don't know that he's said nice things about Adolf Eichmann, who was one of the architects of the final solution, or that he's called Wilhelm Trapp a decent guy. Wilhelm Trapp being the commandant of the order police who oversaw the deaths of 83,000 Jews. According to Peterson, he was a decent guy. People just don't know the details. And I guess it is easy to miss them, but at the same time, I sort of wonder how people have missed it. And I say this, and it's odd that I should say this, because, as I've said, it took me a long time to figure out that he even really spoke about Nazism. Yet I expect other people to have figured it out, which is not really fair. But in light of the evidence, evidence avoidance and evidence denial are still two main themes. People don't. Many people just don't want to see evidence, and many people just think it's a joke that someone could say that someone is a Nazi nowadays. How convenient for the Nazis. So anyway, this is the end of the University of Toronto from the not so mean streets of downtown Toronto.